I'm playing something almost every week, and sometimes I want to talk about it and give you a vertical slice. So stick with me for some lightning reviews. This week on the chopping block. This week I decided to experience the game that is Hunt Down the Freeman. I deliberately say experience rather than play because play entails a sense of happiness, mirth, or enjoyment, and I was going into this one fully expecting to not be having fun. With me recently replaying Half-Life 2, and prior to that trying out Black Mesa and the original Half-Life 1 on PC for the first time, I figured I would see firsthand a fan attempt at continuation for the Freeman cinematic universe. Now, I'm immersed in game culture enough where I know full well Hunt Down the Freeman's reputation. A fan-built project, seemingly with no endorsement from Valve, the original intellectual property holder, and effectively released the digital equivalent of teenage fanfiction on Valve's Steam distribution service for money. The only way one could open yourself up more for abuse would be to take a Jaws of Life rescue device, wedge it into your ribcage, and set it to full open while a screen plays your internet browser history behind you. That being said, I also approached Hunt Down the Freeman with a mind of morbid curiosity, like an autopsy specialist wanting to figure out how a Jaws of Life machine would affect someone's ribcage. You open the game, seemingly as some random grunt being recruited for a special military unit. The tutorial, for attentive types, lays an idea of the quality of the experience right down to a mechanical level. Even movement is being experimented with in a means that any longtime fan of Half-Life will tell you is either detrimental to the experience, or at least just kind of pointless. Let's look at Half-Life 2, because the creators invited the comparison the second they decided to make this travesty. Beyond walking in Half-Life 2, what enhanced movement options did Gordon Freeman have? Run, jump, sprint, and crouch, and that was all you needed to keep the game well-paced and deliberately tight from a control aspect. Well, Royal Rudius Entertainment looked at this perfectly crafted system in the form of a grilled cheese sandwich, simple, elegant, and satisfying in its decisions, and then threw it back on the pan, emptied the contents of a beefy 5-layer burrito on top, and then sent it back out with the mindset of more stuff means a better game, adding a whole separate parkour mode along with a prone movement system. In the instances where those two options came in, the game ground to a screeching halt as I tried to recall the necessary control key, and with the parkour mode in particular, leading to some very irritating segments of limited visibility and painfully slow progression. Then there was the expanded weapon menu, which again in Half-Life 1 could be entirely navigated by the scroll wheel. Nope, too easy. Now you have to select menus and subcategories for all your different weapons. Like I said 2 paragraphs ago, pointless expansion. Anyway, after your tutorial level, you're deployed to the Black Mesa facility to fulfill the narrative obligation of getting decimated by a scientist in an orange envirosuit. The opening in particular struck me as rather presumptive because Hunt Down the Freeman shows, allegedly, Freeman treating you with a degree of brutality and deliberate cruelty, but I immediately experienced narrative dissonance on that because I never played that way. Granted, it would be very difficult to account for an individual playstyle, but it would probably have been a hell of a lot more accurate to just get grenaded by a guy you saw for 5 seconds before they kept speeding through the level. But the game needs to set up your motive, in this case, you swearing a blood oath of vengeance against one random guy who, let's not forget, committed the offense of not wanting to be killed by the military. The G-Man then saves you, as I'm assuming insurance to be the guy who takes out Freeman if the G-Man loses control. Okay, I gotta stop you again, Royal Rudius. Didn't that exact thing happen when the Vortigons kept G-Man from taking him in episode 2? Well, I guess we know the end of this game and how successful you are. You then wake up in the midst of the 7 Hours War and proceed to navigate the still ongoing 7-lane snowy road pileup that is the story. Watching these cutscenes alone should illustrate that... Actually, can we just focus on the fact that this game is so dissonant with the level of storytelling that Valve strives for that they went ahead and used cutscenes? Something Valve deliberately avoids because of how it breaks player immersion? Then again, maybe these people knew they couldn't compete and just decided to own the awful. Anyway, as I was saying, the cutscenes illustrate with clarity the fact that this is a fan project with the script writing, dialogue, and voice acting all fluctuating wildly from tolerable to me openly exclaiming at the computer, "What the fuck is this exchange?" Or, "Are they actually serious with this character?" Eventually, I grew to initiating a practice I rarely do. I skipped cutscenes. Granted, at times there were scenes that I was enjoying, but for entirely the wrong reasons. Mostly because I was laughing at how goddamn stupid they were. But in the end, having any option to shorten the game was a welcome one. In fact, I was debating putting on no clip to just blaze through levels. That wasn't helped when some glitch kept opening the console menu on loading screens, at which point I was just one text prompt from moving through the levels Lemillion style. Ultimately though, while the enhanced movement options were at best unnecessary, most of the rest of the game is serviceable. Beyond the clunky clunky selection of weapons in their menu subcategories, they work well enough. You point them at baddies, pull the triggers, and the baddies go away. Although the damage at times seems inconsistent. And while the returning enemies are fine, the new enemies are more out of place than a Jaws of Life machine in someone's ribcage. They look like an old Mysterio toy that a child spent an afternoon modifying with a lighter and a can of bug spray. Looking at it in hindsight, I can't in any way recommend this game. There are moments where I could almost say that it's so bad it's good, but those moments are few and far between. It's interesting to look at and analyze from a design perspective and how morbidly twisted something attempting to follow in Valve's footsteps could be, but more than anything, I get the feeling that the developers were acting in a mindset of grandiose self-delusion and confidence, having achievements that not only trigger when the game crashes, but one that plays at the 2 hours mark called no refunds? They have to be acting in hallucinatory delirium or outright giggling contempt. If you must play this, get some friends around and treat it like an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Just do yourself a favor and stay away. Now, if you'll excuse me, this is the last video of the year for me, and I'd like to do some reflecting. Hey, thanks for sticking around all the way to the end. Remember that I give away Steam keys with my regular weekly uploads, and all you have to do to enter is leave a comment and have contact info on your YouTube profile. But as always, thanks for watching and keep your head on your shoulders.